starts walking around the interview room, and then he starts going, and then he walks around, and then he does it again.
The pool party start today at 5, 6 o'clock. If you already got the address, pull up, man.
One of the dudes tied to Julio Foolio's setup just gave himself away without even knowing it. After being left alone in the interrogation room, Davion Murphy must have thought he was in the clear. Cameras were still rolling, and what does he do? He straight up started reenacting how it all went down. Murphy basically served the whole case to the prosecutors on a silver platter, no pressure needed. He didn't just act it out, he even name-dropped people like it was nothing. Now I'm about to break all of it down for you. These guys really thought the cameras weren't rolling. Wild. See, the loss of Charles Andrew Jones II, better known in the streets as Foolio, shook up the entire rap scene. On June 23rd, 2024, what should have been a celebration for his 26th birthday turned tragic real quick outside the Holiday Inn in Tampa, Florida. This wasn't no random altercation or heat-of-the-moment mess. This was planned, cold, intentional, the kind of move that shows someone had been watching him heavy all night long. But here's where it gets messy. These dudes really thought they were untouchable. What they didn't realize is that their own cockiness, and let's be real, straight up foolishness, turned into the very thing that's got them staring down serious time. We're talking about evidence so solid, even the sharpest defense lawyers in the game would be sitting there stuck, wondering how to flip it. This whole mess really kicks off inside an interrogation room at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. That's where Davion Murphy, one of the 5 names tied to Foolio's case, was getting pressed hard by detectives. This 27-year-old, said to be linked to that 1200 gang, had been ducking the law for over 6 months before they finally snatched him up on January 6th, 2025.
He puts out his arms like this, and it appears that he's brandishing a rifle with one hand extended and one, what I would consider the trigger finger. He starts walking around the interview room, and then he starts going, and then he walks around, and then he does it again.
That grab, it came with the help of the U.S. Marshals. Now picture this, real intense vibe. Detectives throwing heat, firing off questions left and right, trying to catch Murphy slipping. And Murphy, he's sitting there trying to act calm, giving just enough to not look suspicious, but holding back so he don't give himself or his crew up. Tension in that room was thick, like a pot of day-old grits. Detectives were all over Murphy, grilling him about where he was that night, who he was rolling with, and what part he played in the setup that led to Foolio losing his life. And then came the moment, the one that flipped the whole case on its head. The moment that had folks calling Murphy the biggest clown in Jacksonville. So here's what went down. During a break in the questioning, one of the detectives stepped out, leaving Murphy alone in the room. And that's when he made the dumbest move of his life. No question about it. What Murphy didn't know, or didn't even think about, was that the surveillance cams were still rolling the whole time, catching everything this man was doing. And what did he do? Oh, he started showing out, acting like he was in some kind of trap video. According to what detectives later revealed during his bond hearing on January 16th, 2025, Murphy was on camera throwing up fake shots, mimicking a rifle in his hands like he was back on the block. Can you picture this? A grown man looking at a possible life sentence, or worse, straight up reenacting the exact scene he was being grilled about, like he was reliving it for fun. The detective who had to take the stand later was so stunned by what he saw, he actually acted out Murphy's moves right there in front of the judge, showing the whole courtroom what the security footage caught. And no, this wasn't just some nervous twitch or someone pacing around under pressure. This looked like a dude who was proud, maybe even hyped up, about something that had the entire city shook. Prosecutors said Murphy's behavior proved one thing. He really thought those cameras were off. And because of that, everything he did came off extra incriminating. To get just how wild this is, you gotta understand what was behind Foolio's death. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment fight or a petty street clash. Nah, this was the final blow in a gang war that had been tearing through Jacksonville for over a decade.
The pool party start today at 5, 6 o'clock. If you already got the address, pull up, man. You got the address, pull up. If you need the address, DM me right now. The pool party start at 5, 6 o'clock.
Foolio, who repped the 6-block side of the KTA Kill Them All gang, had been caught up in a long, bloody beef with rival cliques like ATK, Aces, Top Killers, and the 1200s out east. By the time this hit happened, the streets had already seen way too many bodies. This wasn't just some back and forth rap beef that stayed on wax. Nah, this was real deal street drama that had been heating up online through posts, sneak disses, tracks full of disrespect. And sadly, it spilled over into real life chaos that rocked families and neighborhoods. On that night in June 2024, Foolio was out in Tampa celebrating his birthday, moving from one spot to the next, vibing like it was just another night. After hitting up a pool party, the suspects were already locked in, following him step for step. He went to Teaser's Gentlemen's Club, then Truth 18 nightclub, and finally the Home 2 Suites. That's where the setup went down. Foolio had no idea he was being hunted. His enemies were tracking him like hawks, lurking in the background, just waiting for the slip-up. But here's the real heartbreaking part. His own social media gave them the playbook. Foolio was posting in real time, tagging spots, showing love to his fans, not knowing that those same posts were helping his ops track his every move. What Foolio didn't realize is he was basically handing over a Jeep's pin drop to the people plotting on him. The ambush that took him out, that wasn't no sloppy hit. This was next level execution. 3 shooters, high-powered rifles, and 31 shell casings left scattered all over the scene. This wasn't random. It was coordinated, planned, and clearly done by folks who knew exactly what they were doing. 5 people ended up getting charged in connection with the case. Sean Gathright, just 18 years old. Isaiah Chance, 21. Alicia Andrews, also 21. Rashad Murphy, 30. And Davian Murphy, 27. All of them allegedly linked to rival cliques that had been beefing with Foolio's camp for years. And the evidence, it was already stacking up ugly. Surveillance footage showed the crew tailing Foolio across Tampa all night long, but it didn't stop there. Phone records started dropping receipts too. One of the wildest, text messages from Rashad Murphy, where he was calling Julio Don Julio as a diss. That wasn't just shade, it was a clear sign they were watching him closely. Plus, Rashad had even booked an Airbnb in Tampa the day before everything went down.
Hey, my birthday, man. Everybody coming like a spell. No cap, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We deep as hell. We deep as hell. 20.
But Davion Murphy's ridiculous one-man show in the interrogation room, you got a suspect facing the heaviest charges out there, and instead of laying low, he's out here acting out the very thing he's being accused of. That moment was so wild, it became the main headline during Davion Murphy's bond hearing. The whole thing stretched out for 5 hours and ended with the judge shutting it down. No bond. Prosecutors had no problem convincing the court that Murphy was way too much of a risk to be walking free. And that little performance he put on in the interrogation room, yeah, that didn't do him any favors. The state's coming hard. They've made it clear. 3 suspects, Isaiah Chance, Sean Gathright, and Rashad Murphy, could be facing the death penalty if convicted. Alicia Andrews, who's reportedly pregnant, isn't looking at the ultimate sentence, but still has heavy charges hanging over her. As for Davion Murphy, because of how strong the evidence is, and the claim that he played a role as one of the shooters, he's most likely staring down that same extreme penalty too. The court process is still in motion and far from over. Alicia's trial was supposed to kick off in early January 2025, but her lawyer quit, pushing it back to sometime around August 2025 or later. The rest of the crew, including Murphy, are set for trial in April 2026. To really grasp the madness we saw in that interrogation room, we gotta dive into the raw, unforgiving world that created it. What happened to Julio Foolio wasn't just some random street hit. It was the tragic final chapter in a decade-long war that's left the streets of Jacksonville stained with pain, loss, and broken families. This story, it's about young men trapped in an endless loop of retaliation, about neighborhoods turned into battlegrounds where survival became a daily mission. Charles Andrew Jones II, known in the streets as Foolio, was born June 21st, 1998, and raised in Jacksonville's Montcrief area. His upbringing, far from easy. His life was shaped by pain early on, and that pain echoed through his music and the choices he made.
Down on my foot, I see him bleeding, but I'm like, I see the front. See, I ain't show y'all the back side of my ankle. The front and the back side of my ankle, like.
When Foolio was just 13, his father was shot and killed back in 2011. That moment left a deep wound and pushed him even further into the street life surrounding him. With few options and even fewer role models, Foolio got locked in with the 6-block set of KTA, Kill Them All, a crew that operated mostly in the North Side and was tied to all kinds of street business. Foolio's music didn't just ride beats. It told real stories. Stories of the streets, survival, and the pressure of always looking over your shoulder. His lyrics reflected the life he was living, the danger, the codes, the losses. But on the other side of this war, there was another young voice shaped by the same pain and chaos. Keontae Tyrone Bullard, known in the rap world as Young Gene Ace. Ace was born on February 12, 1998 in East Chicago, Indiana, but moved to Jacksonville while he was still a kid. Raised by his moms alongside 11 siblings, Ace grew up in the middle of the struggle. His childhood wasn't just rough, it was survival mode. And like Foolio, Ace lost his father in 2011, the exact same year. 2 boys, 2 tragedies, same city, different sides. Ace eventually got tied in with the ATK crew, Ace's Top Killers, a gang named after him that stood toe-to-toe with Foolio's 6-block KTA set. What started as street tension turned into a full-on war, pulling in more and more young men from both sides. This wasn't just some neighborhood scuffle. It became a battlefield built on loyalty, betrayal, and revenge. The beef really caught fire in 2017 when Foolio's 18-year-old cousin, Zion Malik Brown, was killed. That loss lit the fuse. And what followed? A chain reaction of get back after get back, turning Jacksonville into a city under siege. Things hit a heartbreaking peak on June 5th, 2018, when a shooting at St. John's Town Center left Youngin Ace injured and 3 lives gone. His brother Trayvon Bullard, along with 2 close friends, Royal Devin Smith Jr. and Jacoby Desha Groover, didn't make it. That attack was reportedly carried out by members of 6 Block, marking a major escalation in the already out-of-control war between the crews. What came after just showed how raw and public this feud had become. Foolio took it to social media, posting disrespectful content, including a shirt that read, "Rest in 23, aimed at Royale Devin Smith Jr. The internet post wasn't just bold, it was brutal. That move poured gasoline on the fire, setting the tone for years of nonstop retaliation. The violence didn't slow down, it got worse.
Foolio dying, cuz. That's sad, twin. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all boys in the street, y'all didn't leave the streets alone, twin. All condone and like that. It's so funny, cause me, bro, like, we cool. Like, we was cool and feel me and him, like, we cool. I was just, so funny, I was just talking to him. I'm like, bro, you gotta stop the way, bro. You know, I love y'all here. Like, stop the way, bro. Like, you know how.
In January 2019, Willie Addison, also known as Boss Goon, was shot and killed outside Paradise Gentlemen's Club. That hit was also tied to the same beef, and the body count kept rising. Later that year, KTA affiliates Lil Buck, Charles Quentin McCormick Jr., and Bibby, Adrian Denard Gaynor Jr., were both taken out in separate incidents, believed to be ATK's response. Foolio had been marked before. He wasn't new to danger. He survived a shooting in July 2020 out in Houston, and again in October 2023 back home in Jacksonville. After that second hit, Foolio jumped on Instagram Live, showing fans he was still breathing, but you could see it in his face. He knew they were coming harder. Each time he dodged death, the pressure got worse. The streets were heating up, and so was the internet. Both sides started using music and social media as weapons. The beef wasn't just in the streets anymore, it was everywhere. Disses were flying through music videos, IG stories, and TikTok clips. The whole war became a show. Foolio dropped When I See You, and it lit the net on fire. Nearly 1 million views in just 12 hours. In it, he called out his enemies by name, throwing direct shots at ATK, the crew led by Youngin Ace. Not to be outdone, ATK clapped back with Who I Smoke, a track that went viral fast, 14 million views in 3 weeks, mocking fallen 6 Block members and turning real-life losses into bars. These weren't just songs, they were recruiting tools, public trophies, and the cops, they were watching. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office even used rap videos to help make arrests back in January 2019. The alliance between 1200 Out East and ATK made an already deadly situation even messier. This move shifted the balance heavy against 6 Block, creating a wider network of shooters and raising the number of potential targets. And that alliance wasn't just talk, it played a major role in Foolio's death. Two of the main suspects, Rashad and Davian Murphy, were both allegedly tied to 1200 out east. Law enforcement has painted the whole conflict as one of the bloodiest gang wars in Jacksonville's history, with dozens of lives lost on both sides. But it wasn't just gang members getting hit. Innocent folks, entire families, and whole neighborhoods got dragged into the chaos. And the sad part, the violence still ain't over. Even in recent times, tragedy keeps striking. On January 20th, 2025, a 7-year-old boy named Brian Allen was killed during a shooting that targeted his cousin, a rapper connected to ATK.
Foolio that night when he got dropped at his birthday celebration. I rocked with Ace and them boys, you feel me? ATK, you feel me? I be in Jacksonville heavy. Ace had that money on his head, you know, Ace had them put that 10K up. Told me to slide, told me to smack fool, because you know he got tired of that running his mouth.
6 suspects between the ages of 17 and 24, allegedly tied to 6 Block, got taken in for that heartbreaking incident. That one hit different. A child lost to a war he had nothing to do with. But now we're getting to the part that's got everyone talking. The wildest twist in this whole saga. The part where one of Jacksonville's biggest rap names starts getting mentioned in connection with Foolio's killing. Youngin Ace, real name Kia Bullard, is sitting right in the middle of swirling allegations, and the streets are buzzing with theories about what he really knew or what role he might have played. The streets keep buzzing, and the headlines won't stop, because even more than a year after Foolio's death, the drama surrounding Youngin Ace is still heating up. Despite being at the center of one of Jacksonville's deadliest rivalries, Ace hasn't been hit with any charges tied to Foolio's killing. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office has gone on record saying there's no current investigation into Ace regarding the case, though they're definitely still watching him given his gang ties and the rising street tension. But don't get it twisted. Ace's name stays floating around this case. His affiliation with ATK and his long-running beef with Foolio make it impossible to ignore. During Davian Murphy's bond hearing on January 17, 2025, a marathon 5-hour session, cops went deep on Ace's connection to ATK and his role in the ongoing conflict with Foolio's crew. Law enforcement made it clear Ace is a major part of the story. Still, the state attorney's office says they're sticking strictly to evidence, and as of now, they're not pursuing any charges against him. But here's where things take a crazy turn. The beef might not have been as clear-cut as everyone thought. During a shocking Instagram Live on July 21st, 2024, Ace himself dropped a bombshell, saying he and Foolio were actually cool before everything went down. That one moment flipped the narrative, leaving fans and followers wondering, was this more than just gang tension? Yo, when Ace dropped that revelation, the hip-hop world froze. You had 2 young men painted as sworn enemies, dropping diss tracks, sneak dissing on social, the whole internet feeding off their feud. And now Ace was saying it was all squashed before Foolio got taken out. The timeline wasn't adding up, and people started looking closer. But here's where things got real murky. Just hours after Foolio was killed, on June 24th, 2024, Ace released a track called Do It. The timing had everybody raising their eyebrows, but it was the content that really lit a fire. Fans instantly clocked the bars. They called my phone, said they got the low. I told them, do it. That line right there had people thinking Ace was hinting at something way darker. To make it worse, the visuals in the Do It music video showed scenes that looked eerily similar to the hotel parking lot where Foolio was killed. That was enough to set social media on fire. Was Ace throwing shots at the dead, or was he just using the moment to boost views? Either way, folks weren't letting it slide. Then came the wildest twist yet. A viral clip hit the net showing a masked man claiming to be the shooter. And what did he say? That Ace paid him to do the job. Now hold up. This claim ain't verified, and it's still under major scrutiny. But it threw gasoline on an already explosive situation. That masked man's claim, still completely unverified. Nobody knows who he is, and law enforcement hasn't backed up a single part of what he said. Multiple hip-hop news outlets were quick to point out there's no official confirmation, no charges, no investigation tied to that accusation. Just pure speculation. Let's be real, anyone can throw on a ski mask, hop on a phone, and claim they did something wild. Doesn't mean it holds any weight, but Youngin Ace's real legal situation added more fuel to the chaos. On April 15th, 2024, Ace got arrested out in Jacksonville Beach on a gun possession charge, but by July 3rd, those charges were dropped due to lack of solid evidence. Court records showed that neither DNA nor phone data linked Ace to the weapons found. Prosecutors looked at the case and straight up said, low chance of conviction. So they passed on moving forward. The whole situation just shows how tricky it is for authorities to go after high-profile figures in gang-linked cases. Even Jacksonville Sheriff TK Waters addressed it, saying Ace's connection to gang life is well known, but that don't mean much in court. Charges have to be built on facts, not rumors, not rep. Meanwhile, the 5 suspects who did get arrested for Foolio's murder, all allegedly tied to ATK and 1200 Out East, the same crews Ace is known to be affiliated with. The link between Youngin Ace and this whole situation can't be denied. It's exactly why his name keeps getting thrown around. But while people speculate about his possible involvement, the hard evidence is all pointing toward the 5 suspects who actually got locked up. And that evidence, it's heavy. Digital receipts paint a clear picture. Text messages from Rashad Murphy straight up mentioning Don Julio in a disrespectful way. On top of that, records show Rashad had booked an Airbnb in Tampa the day before Foolio got hit. That move alone raised eyebrows. Then the ballistic analysis came through, linking the weapons used in the hit to 4 other shootings and 1 homicide that all went down in 2022 in Jacksonville. That's not just circumstantial, that's a pattern. Prosecutors are building their case off this real, traceable evidence, stuff that places these suspects right at the scene. So even though Ace's gang ties and public beef with Foolio help frame the bigger picture, law enforcement is aiming charges at the ones they can directly tie to the act itself. One twist that's been turning heads lately, Isaiah Chance is claiming he's innocent. In May 2025, he took to Instagram saying the cops got it wrong. According to him, there's no clear footage of the shooters, no murder weapon, and no shell casings that put him at the scene. Isaiah Chance's claim of innocence throws some uncertainty into the mix and brings contrast to a case that's mostly been built on circumstantial and digital evidence. But let's be real, defendants claiming they're not involved, that's nothing new. Still, with the kind of heat this case carries, even a small crack in the narrative can stir up big waves. As for Youngin Ace, the public reaction to his possible connection has been straight up chaotic. Social media been going off. Some folks are convinced he was the mastermind, while others say he's just an easy target because of his long-standing beef with Foolio and the arrests of his crew members. After his affiliates got picked up, Ace jumped on Instagram with a bold statement. When you approach me, be ready to die or go to jail. That's my mentality. Some saw it as just Ace flexing, a general message to haters. But others pointed out it came right in the middle of all this murder case drama, making it feel like a direct warning. Law enforcement's handling of Ace reflects the tightrope they're walking. They're investigating links, watching his moves, but they know they can't slap charges on someone just for having a rep or being gang affiliated. Sheriff TK Waters himself said it. When it comes to high-profile street figures, the level of surveillance is intense, but it's evidence, not rumors, that decide who gets cuffed. This entire case shines a harsh light on the blurred line between rap as art and rap as real life. In the world of drill, both Foolio and Youngin Ace built their names partly by telling raw stories tied to street life, gang ties, and ongoing beefs. Their lyrics, videos, and social posts weren't just entertainment, they became evidence, dissected by law enforcement, used to map out connections and intentions. While the 5 suspects sit in jail, facing the weight of potential life sentences or even the death penalty, Youngin Ace is still out here making music. But trust, he's moving under a microscope. Every post, every lyric, every appearance is being watched by authorities, looking for any sign he might be tied to the chaos still unfolding in the city. Meanwhile, in Jacksonville, young kids are still growing up in the same neighborhoods, facing the same choices. And even with all the headlines, all the losses, many still hold on to hope that their path won't end the same way. But let's not sugarcoat it. This case pulled the curtain back on the real cost of this lifestyle. Social media beefs turn into body counts. Loyalty to the streets can come with a death sentence. And once you're in, the game rarely lets you walk away clean. Thanks for watching. If you were locked in like we were, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. and tap into what's happening next in our hood. We got more stories coming that you won't believe.